Before being notable for sacking Hideo Kojima and running their offices like totalitarian camps, Konami were once the kings of the arcade beat-em-up, churning out successive classics like Nobody's Business. Amongst these classics were the digital adaptations of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon, which first aired in 1987. The TMNT franchise would go on to spawn an army of toys, a 1990 feature film, and some of the best beat-em-ups ever created. And with the recently revived film franchise milking nostalgia all the way to the bank, I thought I'd take a look at Turtles games old and new and assemble my list of the top 5 best Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games ever made. Before I get started, it's worth mentioning that most TMNT titles share a multitude of design similarities, like the obligatory skateboard/hoverboard level, an alarming rehash of bosses, and enemies that explode upon being defeated. Why did everything have to explode? So, with that said, I chose the titles on this list for their historical significance in the series, and obviously for anything noteworthy that set them apart from their peers. As a side note to this list, I have not played the recently released Mutants in Manhattan or 2013's Out of the Shadows, but based on their Metacritic scores, I don't think I'm missing out on much. So let's begin. Starting off the list is the third and final TMNT title to hit the original Nintendo. While previous attempts to bring the 4 amphibious brothers to Nintendo's system were unsuccessful, in 1991 the Manhattan Project was finally able to capture everything that made the arcade titles so special, even on antiquated hardware. This is also one of the hardest titles on this list. The series' penchant to throw exorbitant amounts of objects and enemies in your path is so extreme here that I was surprised a literal kitchen sink wasn't hurled at me. Incredibly basic but fun at its core, the Manhattan Project was the 8-bit send-off the NES deserved. The 2007 TMNT movie was no masterpiece, but did manage to tell a solid original story in the universe, and the games that would release alongside it were also of a surprisingly high quality. The PS2 and 360 received a 3D action adventure, while the GBA was treated to a more traditional 2D beat-em-up. And while I'm a fan of the 3D title's fluid platforming akin to Prince of Persia, the 2D beat-em-up is just too good to deny. Fast-paced, side-scrolling action on the handheld was a return to the series' roots and offered high-quality sprites on the 32-bit hardware. New additions like tag team moves where the other turtles would swoop in and deliver punishing blows made for some of the most satisfying combat in the series' history, and a must-play for die-hard TMNT fans. It must have been tough being a Sega fan in the early 90s. Sure, you have Sonic, Phantasy Star, and Alex the Kid, but what about Mario, Zelda, Metroid? The list goes on. And when the 16-bit home consoles rolled onto the scene, Genesis fans everywhere must have been plagued with anxiety, wondering if they'd ever get their own TMNT title. Hyperstone Heist was certainly worth all the worry. A colourful art design pushing the system to its limits, fast, intuitive gameplay, and Genesis-exclusive levels made for a notable standalone release. Small mechanical differences like dashing being assigned to a button made Hyperstone Heist feel like its own unique title, though it sadly doesn't hold a candle to the next installment on my list. How can you possibly forget the title that started it all? Konami's beat-em-up pedigree was cemented with titles like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the arcade, blending smooth pixel art with frenetic, sometimes obnoxiously fast-paced combat. The ability to play as all 4 turtles at once on the one cabinet also makes this the definitive title in the series for cooperative play. The first title in the long-running franchise would serve as a blueprint for every later installment, and in my opinion is one of the most definitive beat-em-ups ever created. And it was only 2 years later that it was succeeded with one of, if not the best beat-em-ups ever made. Turtles in Time embodies everything that makes a genre-defining beat-em-up, whether it's the soundtrack, the deliberate combat, or the diverse levels that make it the best installment in the long-running series. In Turtles in Time, you're treated to the most refined and pure game in the series. Traveling through time grants a refreshing variety to levels that other installments simply cannot match. Instead of just fighting Bebop and Rocksteady in an alleyway, you epically duel atop a ship while they wear pirate costumes. It's this flair for the extravagant that separates Turtles in Time from its peers. Having all of this variety, challenge, and cooperative madness on your SNES was also a testament to just how far home consoles had come to recreating an arcade experience. The definitive pinnacle of the series, Turtles in Time tops my list of the top 5 best Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games ever made. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. As I mentioned, this was a personal list, and I'd love to know what your favorite TMNT game of all time is in the comments below. Subscribe and share if you enjoyed the video, and until next time, see ya.